Hey again, math teacher besties. Kristen Moore here for the Modern Math Teacher Podcast. And today I'm tackling the big question we all have always. How do we make math feel relevant for our students' lives? And when am I ever going to need this? Okay. Today I'm going to share with you some practical strategies for making real world connections in your math lessons. And I'm going to share with you how you can use AI to support you with this, how it can help you bring current events, student interest, and real world data into your classroom. Let's make sure your students never ask, when am I ever going to need this again? Are you up for it? Let's do this. Now, first up, we want to know, why do real world connections matter? When students see how math applies to their lives, it is a complete game changer. Okay. Real world connections not only make lessons more engaging, but it also helps your students retain the concepts for longer. When your students can see that math has an actual application in the real world, they're going to be more invested in learning about it. Whether or not they're going to continue to use that specific concept into the future becomes slightly less irrelevant to them, because they can actually see tangibly how it's being used in the real world. Take exponential functions, for example. There are so many real world applications of exponential functions. So whether it is like biology and bacteria growth, the spread of disease, how populations are changing, or understanding like financial formulas, how to earn interest, anything like that can be modeled with exponential functions. But remember, it isn't enough for the topic to just be real. It's also got to be relevant, okay? Real, relevant, rigorous. I say it all the time. Super matters here, okay? So your students have to find a way to connect to the content at hand in a meaningful way. There we go. Whew, oh my gosh, you guys, it's a day. Okay. So I know my students are at a point where they're going to be headed off to college soon, whether they're going to a trade school or a community college or to one of our local universities. They're all starting to think about where they're going to go, what they're doing after high school, and how they're going to afford it. So when we get to exponential functions, you can bet I'm going to be like zeroed in on the financial applications for it. We're going to look into students' loans and hitting on all the financial aspects of exponential functions in just a few weeks when we get to that unit, because I know it's something that is not only real, but it's also super relevant to my students right now. And if you are finding that you're kind of stuck with that, AI tools like ChatGPT can help you by generating those personalized examples based on your students' interests, whether that's sports or stats or pop culture trends or whatever it is. I like to give ChatGPT my student survey results, feed it in there so that I can go back and use that time and time again. So, AI tools, like I said, are going to help you create lessons that feel fresh and timely. That's what's so nice. We don't have to just rely on our textbooks, which, may have been timely at the time they were printed, but some of us are working with textbooks that are like 5 or 10 years old. So it's not as timely anymore. Using AI tools like ChatGPT, it's really my go to for this kind of thing, taking these and bringing new life to them. Like I said, I really like to share my student survey with ChatGPT to get a better understanding of what my students' interests and aspirations are, so that I can better tailor my examples to match those interests and aspirations. I know for one thing, football is huge in my school. My students just had a great stretch in the playoffs and did better than they have in years. So, you know, during the time leading up to the super big game, you can use AI tools to analyze like player stats, calculate probabilities for different game scenarios. It is an easy and fun way to bring real world excitement to your math classroom, especially if your students are going to be buzzing with excitement for the big game like mine are. Now, speaking of that big super game, I'm going to be working on a series of activities or like a mini project that you can use with your students leading up to and around that game time. Where I really not so secretly am hoping that my Lions are going to take it all. We've had a killer season this year, and that is my hope and wish and what I'm putting out there for 2025. So, at the time this episode drops, the new football activity should be live in TPT. And so I'll make sure to link that here in the show notes, but it is in the drafting process right now in the meantime. Okay. So Beyond football, beyond finances, let's talk about some other ways we can use AI to help bring math class to life. You guys, AI is transforming the way that we teach. It can offer us powerful tools to make our lessons more engaging, relevant, interactive, so many great things with it, right? I want to share with you some hands on ways that you can use AI in your math classroom to connect those lessons to real world context. And if you're watching me on YouTube, you might see that I'm going to like read a little from my notes right now, but I just really wanted to make sure that I hit some really good major ones for you. Okay. So, first up, we can use AI to access real time data. Okay. So, you've maybe seen Google Trends. Maybe you've heard of Kaggle. I think it's called Kaggle. These are platforms that make it easy to bring in fresh, real world data into your classroom. And here's how you can do that. So, with Google Trends, right, you can use that tool to analyze trending topics that resonate with your students. So, during this super football season, you could explore search trends for teams, players, game related statistics, right? And as a lesson idea for you, you can have students create a graph of search popularity over time and then use that data to predict trends or calculate percentages. Super fun to have them like plot all of their own data and just get a good connection there. They can follow whatever trend they want. It's a really cool tool to use in your classroom. Next up is Kaggle. This is one I haven't used, but one that I'm excited to explore. It offers data sets on anything from sports statistics to weather patterns, and you can choose any of these data sets that connect your current topic or your student's interest, right? So you can analyze NBA player stats and calculate their averages, their medians, their standard deviations, tying in these different concepts to real world context for data that they're actually interested in looking at. Okay. Now, next up, you can use AI powered real world problem solving. So, AI can help your students design and solve their own real world problem scenarios, making your lessons, fun and more personalized for your students. So, you can have them design with like ChatGPT, which is my go to workhorse for everything. You can ask your students to generate a real world problem using this AI. For example, you could tell them, you need to design a budget for a school event that with constraints on, spending and a goal to maximize participation. And AI or ChatGPT can assist by providing realistic parameters and suggestions. Then you can have your students present their solutions and use math concepts to justify their choices. So, again, it's seeing how they can connect the concepts, the conceptual understanding they have of the math to the real world context. And even if they're not doing a bunch of procedural work in there, that's still really good, solid math foundations that they are building right there. Okay. You can also use AI based data simulations. Tools like Wolfram Alpha or Python's Pandas library allow students to simulate data sets. So that's pretty cool. They can simulate weather data to explore patterns, predict future trends using linear regression. And you can discuss how like AI simulations compare to real world data and what assumptions impact their accuracy. Great talking point, great conversation to have with your students. All right. There are lots of other ways that we can use AI and tech tools in our classroom, whether you are using those Desmos classroom activities or Google Sheets, which has some really cool AI add ons, which is neat. You can integrate AI into your Google Sheets to automate calculations, create visualizations, input any data set on monthly expenses, and use formulas to calculate savings goals, tying in those financial literacy concepts. So lots of cool things there. Also, you can think about gamifying your real world math. This isn't necessarily AI, but tech tools are always a fun way to get your students invested in real world too. So, again, Habatica, not one I've used, but I'm excited to try out. They earn points for completing tasks tied to their project or tied to something that you are working on with them, a goal they're setting for the month. So that's cool. Big fan, as always, of Kahoot and Quizzes. I know that they do now have like AI capabilities to them. So definitely something to check out there. Now, you know that using AI to access real world data and create interactive learning experience is going to empower your students to see practical applications of math. And it means you don't have to be the expert at everything. You guys, you are an expert in pedagogy. You are an expert teacher. You are an expert in understanding the content you teach. You're an expert of the students in your classroom, but you don't have to be an expert at knowing every real world application of math. AI can help you with that. Okay. You can help make connections and engage your students to the outside world, right? Inside your classroom with the help of AI. So I want you to think about how you can use it with your students. Start small, integrate just one AI tool into your next lesson. And whether you're pulling a data set or you're designing a scenario or visualizing data trends, before you know it, you'll have a whole bunch of experience and you'll have a classroom buzzing with real world connections and creative problem solving. And AI has helped make that possible. So we know that real world connections can make math class come to life. It makes math come alive. It gives it that tangible, real feel for your students. And we want to make sure it's relevant. AI is the perfect partner to make that happen, combining the real and the relevant with your expertise of your students and your content. And I just want you to go ahead and give that a try. Also, when you're hearing this, don't forget to go drop into the show notes and grab my big game football activity. That will be a ready-made activity or mini project for you and your students that you can use in your classroom, guaranteed to be real and relevant for you because it's real and relevant for my students. So I designed it for my kids. It's probably going to be useful for your kids. Whew, all right, you guys. With that, I'm going to wrap this one up a little longer than it's been lately. So don't forget to keep on pushing those real world connections. Keep on connecting to your students to make math class relevant. And as always, you guys, keep it real.